Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gann, alongside my partner, Jack McNicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If you have the chance, go check out our website, justsayingfootball.com. Follow us on Instagram at JustSaying, no GWJS for article and video updates. And don't forget to get us in your ears on Spotify at Just Saying Football. We like to be there. Super Bowl's over. We had a little party at Mario. Shout out to Mary and her bar. Thank you, everyone, for coming who was able to attend and show up.
Big thanks. Yeah, and what a game it was, man. I mean, we expected something. I'm just happy that, that's always the worst because we've had some bad Super Bowls in the last couple of years. And
the Rams-Patriots one, that was one of them.
That's the first one that comes to mind. But I feel like we haven't really had a great Super Bowl, close one like this since – I don't want to say the last KC Super Bowl. I personally feel like it's been since that Falcons-Patriots Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's really one of those ones that felt like an absolute nail-biter. I mean, this Chiefs-Eagles one, not really back and forth until kind of the second half, but then it was really just all Chiefs. Just there was no answer to their offensive success by the defense, which was so surprising because we talked about it all season. I had talked about the depth in the episode and the 70-plus sacks, and they come out, and I'm like, Hassan Reddick versus Andrew Wiley, who Reddick was my Defensive Player of the Year nominee. No sacks given up by this Chiefs offensive line. Andrew Wiley played his heart out. Not Landon, Creed Humphrey. I always wanted to go Landon Dixon. Creed Humphrey played his heart out. Orlando Brown Jr. This offensive line is what kept them going, especially in that second half. And the injury to Patrick Mahomes, they knew they had to step up prior to the game, but then they knew the second that happened, they had to do it even more, and they did so, and it showed in the scores in the scoreboard.
Yeah, so I mean, we were talking about how it's definitely gonna hit the over 50.5. Man, so I mean, it was what was that? 73 points.
73 points.
Not what we expected. But I mean, great. Both defenses played great, but they still both gave up 35 points. And like you said, no sacks. It was a huge impact to really kind of let Patrick Mahomes go. And, both at the end of the day, both these teams are, were the best teams this year. We saw that in this game. Two of the best quarterbacks, two of the MVPs. We really got treated to the fact that, both these teams can beat you in so many different ways, and they both had to make comeback scenarios. They both had to make, fourth down conversions, big plays, and they both got it done. It was like perfect football at certain points.
It really, really was, and it was evident because if you rewatch the plays when Sky Moore scored a touchdown and when Kadarius Toney scored a touchdown, it's the exact same play, just flipped on opposite sides, and that just Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, they just really knew what they wanted to do. One of the things I want to express here, and it's something that Mahomes expressed after the Super Bowl, and rightfully so, the performance by Jalen Hurts. Was absolutely incredible, and it cannot go underappreciated. He's the first quarterback in the Super Bowl history to get 3 touchdowns. He ties Terrell Davis as the only other person to have 3 rushing touchdowns in a Super Bowl. He threw for 304 yards, was 27 for 38, had 1 in the air, 15 for 70, and 3 on the ground. He did everything that he possibly could. He had the 1 fumble, but immediately that offense had made up for it.
Yep.
You couldn't have asked for anything more from him. So just had to give a shout out to Jalen Hurts and how he performed in this Super Bowl. There's so many question marks, and he answered in the Super Bowl. He's clearly their guy of the future, and how humbled he was after the Super Bowl when he answered a few of those questions.
Yeah.
The rest of the league should be put on notice because I would be very worried. A humbled quarterback like Jalen Hurts, who has only been proven everybody wrong, is all the more scary.
Yeah, it's scary too because you like you said, this is kind of the start of what he's going to be able to do for at least the next decade in this league. And respected not only him, but also the other Eagles players.
Yep.
None of them wavered with any excuses, anything like that. They all really were able to, you saw guys like Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, they said, we just got to play on it. That's the fact. It's every game you got a new play to do. One is not going to impact the other. We saw a lot of that, and just, a lot of credit to those guys. They understood how great of a season they had, how great of a game they played, and, even though I've talked bad about the Eagles, I did pick against it. They played so unbelievably well in this game. Like Sean said, the league should be on notice for next year because they are just really getting started with what they're doing. It's just unfortunate that they had to match up against the guy that they matched up against. And, when you see a guy like Pat Mahomes now, 2 minutes left, in a tie game, we've seen this over the last 23 years with a guy like Brady. We've seen it in at least the regular season with guys like Rodgers, and
Manning's, both of them.
But at the end of the day, we have always remembered that Patty can do that stuff, and he's always going to be able to do it. But really, I got to give credit to the whole offense. I mean, 3 scoring drives out the second quarter when they were down by 10 going in to the Rihanna show. It's pretty nuts that they were able to do that. I mean, 17 points in the fourth quarter alone is just very impressive to me in a must-win game,
Yeah, I mean, just to sort of put a statement on what it is that you're saying. In the second half, the Eagles gave up the longest punt return in Super Bowl history by Kadarius Toney now. Teams were 26-1 when up 10-plus points. The one, by the way, being the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
They lost to the Patriots.
Biggest blown lead in Super Bowl history.
And they just didn't make a stop in the second half. So I think Kyle Brandt said this, and I think rightfully so, on Good Morning Football. It's what you've been echoing. It's what all the players have been echoing. Don't lament this loss by that one single play.
Yeah.
This is a game that has a lot of different moving components, and still some debate on whether or not it's scripted.
Yeah.
Right? But it's a
hot topic right now.
It's a hot topic right now, but there are other moments in the game that happen. You take away the fumble.
Yeah.
What about the second touchdown that got called back on that defensive stuff? The catch by Goddard that was a little bit questionable. There were other plays that you could have gone in this moment to say that's another moment you could have picked something else. It did happen on the biggest stage in what was the last final moments, like you're mentioning. Patrick Mahomes under 2 minutes, it's lethal. But I think everyone on the Eagles organization is right. Do not let that be what is the end all of the season, because the Eagles have so much to take away from this. Multiple receivers with 1,000 yards. You clearly have your franchise quarterback. You got a top 5 defense. You've built the nucleus from your head coaching and your ownership down to your base on your roster.
Yeah.
You have all that you need there to be a team that's right back in there. I don't see why they're not a competitor next season. So don't get bogged down by that one play.
Yeah, it's a great point that you're making with the fact that there's not going to be a lot of turnover with this Eagles team. They're pretty much going to stay the powerhouse that they are now, and we were able to kind of see that after they won their last Super Bowl.
They have 2 first-round draft picks this year. So there's a lot for them. They can still even get better.
Yeah, they are built. And, I mean, if they won that game, we're totally talking about a completely different thing. Maybe the Eagles offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator don't be taking jobs in the last 48 hours.
We'll get into that in a second.
We'll get to that in a second. I'm just saying there's a lot going on with the Eagles, but the roster that we saw week in and week out this year, despite people saying, they had an easier schedule or they had good matchups, it's football. Week by week, you're going to deal with a different situation. They were able to utilize that to get to the Super Bowl, and they proved that they should have been there. And, like I said, if they won that game, we're talking about a totally different, narrative. We're talking, oh, my God, Pat Mahomes is 1-2 in Super Bowls.
The Eagles tied the Super Bowl on a 2-point conversion with a quarterback draw. Let that just sink in.
Yeah, and shout out to everybody who bet the octopus bet. That was, the huge thing about the guy getting the touchdown and 2-point. I was a little skeptical, and Jalen Hurts. I forgot Jalen Hurts is Jalen Hurts,
and he did it. But honestly, the Chiefs everyone rallied that game, I think, and they just played and ever so slightly better. Want to give a shout out to Jerick McKinnon, the former Minnesota Viking.
Yeah,
got a Super Bowl ring. He also slid in the final moments instead of scoring, which I think was
what Ahmad Bradshaw
was trying to do before he fell in. So I want to give him a shout. Just want to get in some news and notes.
Yeah.
To conclude here, like Jack had mentioned, Eagles offensive coordinator Shane Steichen is now the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, and the Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon, again great last name, is now the new head coach of the Arizona Cardinals.
And now we get to say it all the time when we talk about the Cardinals, which is dope.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We get to reference the Gannon in Arizona.
Yeah.
No relation, sadly. And then in some other news, quarterback Derek Carr has officially been released by the Las Vegas Raiders, meaning he can sign with any team. I think it's going to be possibly the Saints or Titans.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be the Saints or the Colts. So it seems like it's going to be Bourbon Street or the AFC South for our guy Derek Carr.
And I like it. I honestly like it for them. I'm rooting for Derek Carr. Hopefully, Indianapolis. I kind of want to see them draft someone. I just feel like they need build someone up.
Yeah.
Clearly the signing.
Who do you want them to draft? Despite, say they, a lot of rumors we're talking about off the show, a lot of mocks got Indianapolis just simply trading for the first pick, sending Chicago to 4. So do you think that they're going to do that for Bryce Young, CJ, or like Will Levis?
Truthfully, I don't think that they're going to bite as heavy. I think that they can kind of sit back and kind of take a pick with whoever's going to fall in their lap and kind of let a team like the Texans kind of freak out and panic over who to go with. I think they're in a position where they can kind of comfortably take at this moment. I would just there's no one quarterback that I really like at the moment.
Yeah.
That's making me feel like they're worth the number 1 pick. Honestly, I want the Bears to go Will Anderson number 1 overall, get their defensive future guy like they did with Brian Urlacher.
It's just for me, it's him, Jalen Carter, and then go get a quarterback later. They're all going to drop.
Honestly, I probably CJ Stroud if I had to pick for Indianapolis, just because if you just look at what they did with Jalen Hurts, Eagles offensive coordinator, I think CJ Stroud, similar build, similar style of play, big body quarterback. You can kind of operate your RPOs out of him and run.
Then you get him and JT and Little Pittman.
If they have to, I would go with CJ Stroud if I was.
I like that,
but at the same time, if I'm them, I'm not necessarily just jumping ahead for that number 1 overall pick. I'm going to kind of sit back and let the Texans figure that one out.
Yeah. And with Gannon, though, he's defense. So, I mean, if we do have, say, 2 quarterbacks go, say Indy trades up.
Will Anderson to Arizona.
With the Gannon?
Oh, my God, with the Gannon, it'd be great. Look at what he did with this entire defense. But, that's all the time that we have, everyone. Just wanted to talk about the Super Bowl 57. We got a long offseason ahead of us. We got a ton of mock drafts. They're going to be coming out. We're going to be analyzing some players, keeping you updated with what's happening once the offseason kicks off in March.
Yeah, but thank you guys for checking us out all season. Hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl. Stay tuned for all the offseason content. Stay updated. Just Saying No GWJS on Instagram. And always check us out at justsayingfootball.com. Just Saying Football on YouTube and on Spotify. See you in the offseason.
Enjoy.